My girlfriend cropped me out of every Instagram post while using my house for her content. When asked why, she smirked, "You should be grateful I even date you." I didn't argue, just went silent. 2 weeks later, she was outside crying with her sister, begging to know why I'd kicked her out. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Look, I'm 35 male, just your average dude sorting mail at the post office. Been doing it for 17 years now. Nothing fancy about it. Just putting the right letters in the right boxes, clocking in, clocking out. But it pays the bills. Gets me those sweet federal benefits, and I've got time for what I actually care about. Pottery. Yeah, pottery. Go ahead and laugh. My buddies do. Call it my old man hobby. But there's something about taking a lump of clay and turning it into something useful with my hands that just hits different. My grandpa taught me in the same garage where I do it now, the house I inherited when he passed. So it's not just a hobby, it's a connection to him. Anyways, I met that girl, I'll call her Amber, at my buddy Jason's cookout last summer. She was this absolute knockout, 26 perfect skin, the kind of girl who knows exactly how good she looks. Way out of my league. I was hanging by the grill when she walked up. She walked up like she owned the place, locked eyes with me, and pointed at my shirt. Said I smelled like clay. Most would have walked away, but she lit up when I said I did pottery. Called it rare. Said guys like me were hard to find. She made it sound like I was some hidden treasure, not a guy who forgot to change after the garage. It was the first time a girl like her looked at me like I was the main event. I remember standing there thinking, is this chick for real? But she kept asking questions. What kind of pieces did I make? How long had I been doing it? Did I sell my work? She seemed genuinely interested, which was weird, honestly. Pretty girls don't usually give a damn about my pottery. I showed her some pictures on my phone, and she started getting really excited. "These are incredible," she said, swiping through my gallery. "Do you have a studio? I'd love to see where you work." Before I knew it, I was inviting her over to see my studio. It's literally just my converted garage, but whatever. When she showed up that weekend, she brought her older sister Casey along. "Hope you don't mind," she said with a smile that made it impossible to say I did. Casey loves artsy stuff too. Right, Casey. Mid-30s, power blazer, probably pays more for her moisturizer than I do for tires. The kind of woman who weaponizes compliments. Everything about my place was charming and authentic, in the same way someone might describe an old gas station bathroom as vintage. She looked around my house like she was mentally calculating the resale value of my soul. But credit where it's due, she knew how to play the game. When she held one of my bowls up to the light and said, "This is so refreshingly honest," I actually believed for a second that she meant it. Rookie mistake. I was kinda confused, but I just nodded along. Before I could even process that weird vibe, Amber was all over my garage, taking dozens of pictures of my pottery wheel, my tools, my finished pieces. She asked me to demonstrate, so I sat down and started working a lump of clay. She took more photos, focusing on my hands. "Do you mind if I look around the rest of the house?" she asked while I was working. I'm so curious about the kind of space a creator like you would live in. It was weird that she was documenting everything, but somehow I felt special. Like this gorgeous young woman was genuinely interested in my life. My space? Me. The next day, I saw the photos on her Instagram. Dozens of them. My pottery wheel. My kitchen. My deck. My creek view. But I was completely cropped out. Just my hands visible on the wheel in one shot. Her caption: "Discovering forgotten arts on my solo journey. There's magic in creating something from nothing. Authentic. Living your self-made woman." Solo journey? Self-made woman? I was literally right there, just cut out of frame. I thought it was odd, but what did I know about social media? Got a Facebook account I check like twice a year to see if anyone died or got married, and an Instagram I made to post pics of my pottery that has maybe 15 photos total since 2018. Last time I posted anything was probably that blue vase I was actually proud of like 8 months ago. Got a pathetic 12 likes lol. Social media just isn't my thing. I'd rather actually make stuff than take pictures of it. But I figured maybe she was just being cautious about posting some random dude she barely knew. Smart move for a girl with her follower count. Made sense at the time. Besides, she texted me that night. "Had the best time today. Your energy is so different from guys my age. Can I come by again this week?" I was just happy she wanted to see me again. Pretty dumb, looking back on it. Things moved fast with Amber, like suspiciously fast. Within a month, she was spending several nights a week at my place. By the second month, she had a toothbrush in my bathroom and a drawer in my dresser. Tea actually felt kind of perfect, like real dating. The good kind. The kind where someone sees your quirks and doesn't just tolerate them, but leans in with curiosity. 5 months in, she temporarily moved in because her roommate situation was toxic and stifling her creativity. She said they were jealous of her growing social media presence and were doing petty things to sabotage her content. I just need a safe space for a few weeks, she said. I'll contribute to groceries and utilities, of course. I didn't mind. My house has been paid off for years, inheritance from my grandpa. The place felt kind of empty after my divorce 3 years ago. I forgot to mention that earlier. And having a beautiful young woman around made it feel alive again. Plus, she seemed to genuinely appreciate things about my life that my ex-wife had found boring. My pottery, my simple routine, the quiet of my neighborhood. Those first couple months, she'd cook these elaborate meals for me, take photos of them, for her personal memories, she claimed, and then we'd eat together with no phones in sight. She'd listen to my stories about the post office like they were fascinating war tales. She'd curl up against me on the couch and actually watch the documentaries I liked without checking Instagram every 3 minutes. When I got sick with the flu, she took care of me like Florence Nightingale with better hair. Soup, medicine, cool cloths on my forehead, the works. I remember thinking, this is it. This is what I've been missing. She even gifted me this expensive clay I'd been eyeing but couldn't justify buying myself. Because you deserve nice things, she said. But then I started noticing patterns that seemed off. Little inconsistencies that piled up like junk mail. Mainly the social media thing. Amber never included me in any of her posts. She'd take endless pictures of my house, my backyard, my pottery, even my cat. But somehow I was always just out of frame. My hands might show up shaping a bowl, or my shadow in a sunset shot, but that was it. Not a single photo with me in it. Not even one of those soft launch boyfriend glimpses girls usually post when they're trying to be coy. At first I brushed it off, thought maybe she was just private, or didn't want to make things internet official too soon. But as the weeks went on and her follower count jumped to 45K, it started to feel weird, like calculated weird. Her captions talked about her cozy craftsman bungalow and how she had discovered pottery as a mindfulness practice. Followers commented about how peaceful and inspiring her solo lifestyle seemed. Meanwhile, I was right there, in the kitchen making us breakfast, in the garage teaching her how to throw clay, paying the electric bill on the house she claimed as hers online. I let it stew for a while, gave her the benefit of the doubt. But the more I saw her crafting that picture-perfect single girl aesthetic with my life as the backdrop, the more it messed with me. I wasn't trying to be insta-famous. I just didn't get why she had to erase me like that. So one morning over breakfast, I finally asked about it, casually, and she sighed, like I didn't get how the world worked. Babe, my followers are there for me and my journey, she explained slowly, as if talking to a child. They relate to me as an independent, self-discovered woman. A boyfriend doesn't fit that narrative right now. It's just marketing. Don't take it personally. Something about it sat wrong with me. Why was her narrative more important than the reality of our relationship? I have no idea where I'm going in this relationship, and I don't know what to expect, but let's just hope it ends up well. There was also the money situation. Despite living rent-free at my place, eating food I paid for, and using utilities I covered, Amber was always just a little short before her brand deals paid out. Can I borrow $50 for Uber today? Got a meeting with this skincare brand. They're going to send me like $500 worth of products. Or, hey, can you spot me 70 until Friday? My payment from the resort promotion is delayed. Never large amounts, 50 here, 70 there, with promises to pay me back that somehow never happened. Yet she always had money for ring lights, new outfits, and skincare products. Casey would visit once a week for what they called strategy sessions. They'd sit on my deck, drinking my imported seltzers, using my Wi-Fi, planning what they called Amber's content calendar. I'd bring them snacks sometimes, and they'd immediately shower me with compliments. Then Amber started using my cabin by the lake for what she called content retreats. My grandpa had built that cabin too. Nothing fancy, just a 2-bedroom place on a quiet lake about 2 hours north. I'd maintained it over the years, replacing the dock, updating the kitchen. Some of my influencer friends and I want to do a girls' weekend, Amber explained. Would it be okay if we used the lake house? It would be such amazing content. She'd take my Jeep up there with 3 or 4 of her friends for weekends, while I stayed home because having guy energy changes the creative vibe. whatever that meant. The photos from these retreats would blow up her Instagram. Beautiful women lounging on my furniture, drinking from my handmade mugs, captioned with complete bull-like, creating space for authentic female energy. Girls only. High-value lifestyle. The weird thing was, Amber's friends seemed to think the cabin belonged to her. More than once, I overheard her on the phone. Yeah, we can use my lake house again. It's such a perfect getaway. My lake house, my Jeep, my pottery, my life, repackaged as hers for internet clout. Things weren't making any sense. So one night after her friends left from another content retreat planning session, I decided enough was enough. I sat her down at the kitchen table, my face dead serious. We need to talk, I said. I've been noticing how you refer to my property when you talk to your friends. She looked up from her phone, surprised by my tone. What do you mean? I mean how you tell everyone that my cabin is your lake house, how my Jeep is your car, how my pottery is your creative outlet. Oh, that's just shorthand, she laughed, waving her hand dismissively. It's easier to explain to them. Is it? Or is it because you're building a brand around things that don't belong to you? She shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Mark, come on. It's not that serious. It is to me, I said, not raising my voice but not backing down either. I don't mind sharing my things with you, but I do mind you claiming them as your own. She rolled her eyes and took a sip of her fancy seltzer. You know, you're lucky to even be part of my journey, she said, scrolling through her phone dismissively. Most men couldn't handle a woman like me. They get intimidated by ambition. That was it. No hesitation, no second guessing. Something clicked right then. I didn't respond, just stared at her, directly, letting the weight of her words hang in the air between us. After about 10 seconds of silence, she looked up and caught my gaze. Something in my expression must have registered, because her face immediately changed. I didn't mean that. She backpedaled quickly, putting her phone down. That came out all wrong. I was just joking. I nodded slowly. Got it. And I walked into the kitchen. That's all she got, because something in me had already shifted. She wasn't going to change, and I wasn't going to let this drag on until it crashed and burned. I'd seen this story before. This time, I was the one writing the ending. That night, I sent one email to the partnerships department of the two biggest brands she was tagging. I attached property records, time-stamped photos of me throwing clay, and screen grabs of her calling my home her Craftsman bungalow. The brand deals dried up in 48 hours. Then I sat on the patio by myself while she filmed herself journaling for a reel. I started thinking, how fast can I remove her from my accounts? Can I change the locks on the cabin without her noticing? Would she try to play the victim if I made her leave? Or worse, spin it into content? She was smart. Slippery, too. I couldn't just confront her head on. Not yet. I needed receipts, leverage, a clean break. As I was planning this, and just a few days later, the universe served up confirmation. It was a Sunday morning. She was still asleep. I needed to check the time, but my phone was charging across the room. Amber's was right there on the nightstand, so I picked it up. The screen lit up with a notification. A comment from someone named Jessica. Dying at that snoring video. Dump his ass, girl. Snoring video? What the hell? I opened her Instagram. There it was. A video of me, asleep, mouth open, snoring. Posted at 2 a.m. Caption. This is what settling looks like. Ladies, boomer energy, upgrade your standards. The comments section was filled with laughing emojis and women tagging their friends. Girl, you need to run! I recognized Casey's username in the comments. Told you to run months ago. My mind started racing. I scrolled through her profile, really looking at it for the first time. It was worse than I thought. She'd been posting polls like, should I leave my clingy guy? With options that clearly described me. Stuck in a dead-end job checkmark. His hobby is literally making pottery. Grandpa energy. Gets weird when I go out with friends, always wanting to know where I am. Her entire brand was built around being a high-value woman who was too good for her current situation. And that situation was me. My home, my things, my life. There were videos where she'd film herself looking bored or irritated while I worked at my pottery wheel, captioned, when he thinks his hobby is a personality trait. Photos of my living room, captioned, making the best of a basic situation while I manifest my dream home. A video tour of my kitchen, which I'd completely renovated myself, with the text, POV, you're dating a guy who thinks renovation means earth tones everywhere. Each post had thousands of likes, hundreds of comments from women telling her she deserved better, that she should upgrade, that she was settling. Something inside me went very, very cold. A pure clarity. I put her phone back exactly where I found it, went to the bathroom, splashed cold water on my face. So, this is what she thinks settling looks like? I thought. I took a deep breath and went back to bed, like I hadn't just watched her burn the bridge from both ends. She had no idea I was already walking away, just quietly, without the need for an audience. Because she took me for granted, I was about to show her what that would cost her. When she woke up and kissed me good morning, I just got up silently and went to the bathroom. When she asked what I wanted to do that day, I stared at her blankly for a moment, then walked to the kitchen without a word. Is something wrong? She called after me. I didn't answer. Made my coffee, sat at the table, read the news on my phone. She came into the kitchen, confusion etched on her face. Mark? Did I do something? I looked at her, then back at my phone. Said nothing. Are you seriously giving me the silent treatment right now? What are you, 12? She laughed nervously. Maybe if more guys didn't cave the second a pretty face cried, she wouldn't have thought silence meant submission. I wasn't punishing her. I was done. I sipped my coffee. Let the silence grow between us like an invisible wall. That day began what I now call the ghosting. I was physically present but completely unreachable. I didn't yell, didn't argue, didn't explain. Just stopped participating in our relationship while still occupying the same space. When she asked direct questions that required answers, I gave her single words. Yes, no, maybe, nothing more. I watched her cycle through confusion, frustration, anger, bargaining. She tried everything, cooking my favorite meals, initiating sex, picking fights, crying dramatically. None of it broke through the ice wall I'd built between us. Meanwhile, I was gathering intelligence. With her suddenly desperate to reconnect, she became careless. Left her laptop open, her phone unlocked. That's when I discovered the truth was even worse than I'd suspected. In her messages, I found dozens of exchanges with her sister. I scrolled back through the messages, and there it was, plain as day. Casey laying out the blueprint like I was some kind of brand-building starter pack. He's perfect for building your brand, Casey had written shortly after we met. Stable guy with a beautiful house, artistic hobby, and no social media presence. You can literally create any narrative you want and he'll never know. And she wasn't just throwing out ideas. She was calling the shots behind the scenes, step by step. Don't post about him yet. Your followers see you as independent. Men reduce engagement. She knew exactly how to play this game. And I was the pawn they thought couldn't see the board. The messages, all of them were like, start borrowing his pottery for photo shoots. People eat up that handmade aesthetic. You should move in with him. Think of the content you could create with daily access to that house. Ask him to use the cabin for a girls' weekend. Those lake views will get incredible engagement. The worst thing was seeing how Amber wavered sometimes, expressing rare moments of guilt. I don't know Casey. He's actually really sweet. Maybe I should just be honest about our relationship? Casey's response was immediate. Are you insane? Your engagement drops 30% when you mention relationships. Keep him behind the scenes where he belongs. You can always find another guy with a nice house. You can't replace 45,000 followers that easily. I was never a boyfriend to her. I was a content resource, a backdrop, a prop for her brand. And her sister was the one pushing her to exploit me at every turn, coaching her on how to maximize what she could extract from our relationship. I copied everything, archived it all, then continued my silent presence. At night, I'd sleep on the couch without explanation. During the day, I'd go to work, come home, make my own dinner, work on my pottery, all without acknowledging her beyond the absolute minimum required for coexistence. Why won't you talk to me? She'd plead, tears streaming down her face. Whatever I did, I'm sorry. Just tell me what's wrong. I'd look at her, then through her, and continue what I was doing. The confusion in her eyes was palpable. She had no playbook for this situation, no protocol for dealing with someone who knew the truth but wouldn't confront her about it. Me going quiet messed with her more than yelling ever could. Without me feeding her ego, covering her bills, or reacting the way she wanted, the whole fake persona she built started wobbling. You could see the cracks forming. She started clinging to Casey more, basically in panic mode trying to figure out how to fix me. I'd catch little bits of their conversations when they thought I wasn't listening. I don't know what happened. He just completely shut down. Did he find something? See something on your phone? I don't think so. He's just gone while still being here. This is bad timing, Amber. You haven't built enough content backlog to transition yet. We need at least 3 more months of cabin content and pottery posts. That's when Casey started coming over more frequently, trying different approaches to break through my wall of silence. The marketing professional attempting to re-establish connection with the resource. Mark, Amber is really hurting here, she said one evening, cornering me in the kitchen. Whatever issues you two are having, you need to communicate about them. The silent treatment is a form of emotional abuse, you know. But Casey's manipulation tactics couldn't touch me now. I didn't give a shit of what she said. I was immune to guilt, to shame, to obligation. I knew their game, and I wasn't playing anymore. All while maintaining my silence, I was making adjustments to my environment, moving my most prized pottery pieces to locked cabinets, changing passwords on accounts, documenting everything I owned with dates of purchase, preparing for the inevitable collapse. The wildest part was watching her content tank in real time. Without me playing along or letting her use my space like a movie set, her posts got real desperate, real fast. 3 weeks into the ghosting, she finally broke. "Why are you doing this to me?" she screamed one night. Not one of my handmade ones. She knew better than to destroy my pottery. Just a generic store-bought mug that shattered against the wall. "What do you want from me? Just tell me what you want." I looked at the broken pieces on the floor, then at her, then went to get the broom. Swept up the mess, dumped it in the trash, all without saying a word. "I can't take this anymore," she sobbed, collapsing onto the couch. "It's like living with a robot, a ghost. Whatever I did, it can't be this bad. Just say something, anything." I put the broom away and walked to my pottery wheel in the garage. Started working a piece of clay as she followed me, still pleading. "Please, Mark. I love you. We can work through this." After an hour, she gave up and went inside. I heard her on the phone with Casey. "I can't do this anymore. He won't talk to me, won't look at me. It's like I don't exist." Casey's solution was predictable. Post through it. Use the emotional authenticity of the situation. Capture the raw struggle. Relationship Challenges content performs well with the algorithm. And so she tried. I'd catch her filming herself crying, then checking the playback to see if it was convincing enough. Staging self-care moments in the bathroom with expensive products. Creating a narrative of personal growth through relationship struggles, all without ever naming what those struggles actually were, because she herself didn't know. But her followers noticed the change. Comments started appearing. "What happened to your beautiful house pics? Did you move? The lighting is different. Where's all the pottery content?" Her engagement dropped. Brand deals went quiet. The aesthetic she'd built on my life was crumbling because I'd simply stopped actively participating in the illusion. Meanwhile, I was executing my own careful plan. Each night after she fell asleep, I'd document more evidence. Screenshots of her fake posts claiming my property as hers. Records of money she'd borrowed. A complete inventory of my belongings that appeared in her content. After 4 weeks of the ghosting, Amber made one final desperate attempt at reconnection. She came to me in the garage, tears streaming down her face, holding her phone. "Look," she said, showing me her Instagram. "I posted about you. I tagged you. I'm acknowledging our relationship publicly. See? I'm trying to fix things." The post showed her holding one of my pottery pieces. Caption reading, "So grateful for my talented partner who creates such beautiful work. Learning that authentic relationships matter more than curated content. Growth, Jacques transparency." I just continued working the clay. "What more do you want from me?" she screamed, throwing her phone onto the workbench. "I've apologized for whatever I did. I've included you in my content. What else can I possibly do?" I stopped the wheel, looked directly at her for what felt like the first time in weeks. "Leave," I said quietly. Just that one word after a month of silence. Her face went through a kaleidoscope of emotions, then dawning horror as she realized what I meant. "What? Leave. You have 3 days to get out," I repeated. "By the end of the week." "You're kicking me out? Just like that? Without even telling me why?" I returned to my wheel without another word. The conversation, such as it was over. That night, she called Casey in a panic. I listened from the hallway as they argued. "He's throwing me out. After weeks of silence, he just tells me to leave with no explanation." "This ruins everything," Casey said. "We were just starting to get good traction with brands. That sponsored post with the pottery mugs was going to pay $1,000. "I don't care about the freaking sponsored posts," Amber shouted. "I'm about to be homeless." "Don't be dramatic. You can stay with me until we figure something out. But you need to secure as much usable content as possible before you leave. Get shots of everything. The cabin, the Jeep, all the pottery you can. We'll frame this as a new chapter narrative." I smiled to myself in the darkness of the hallway. They still didn't understand that I'd been one step ahead of them for weeks. The next day, Amber oscillated between rage, bargaining, and forced cheerfulness. She'd scream at me one moment, offer sexual favors the next, then pretend everything was fine while secretly photographing my home for her content bank. I maintained my silence, watched her pack her things, noticed her slipping small pieces of my pottery into her bags when she thought I wasn't looking. On her final day, I came home from work to find her and Casey loading the last of her things into Casey's SUV. I walked past them into the house without acknowledgement. Seriously? Amber called after me. Not even a goodbye? I closed the door behind me. Through the window, I watched them argue in the driveway. Casey gesturing angrily toward the house, Amber crying. Finally, they got into the car and drove away. That night, I changed the locks, changed all my passwords, blocked both of them on every platform and device, put all the remaining pottery that Amber had appeared with in her posts into storage. With them gone, the house felt quiet in a way that actually felt good for once. I could breathe again. I got back to my wheel, started waking up with purpose again, even started sleeping better. Not just physically, but mentally. Like the weight I didn't know I was carrying finally dropped off my shoulders. And honestly, I thought it'd take longer for her little influencer empire to crash. But nope, thing fell apart faster than I expected. Without access to my house, my cabin, my Jeep, and my pottery, her content suffered immediately. Her posts became sporadic and low quality. Selfies in what was clearly Casey's apartment, generic coffee shop shots, and increasingly desperate motivational quotes. A week after she left, the questions started. Her followers noticed the sudden change in aesthetics. What happened to your beautiful house? Did you move? Amber deleted these comments, but they kept coming. I watched from a distance, sipping my coffee, as she tried to explain away the changes. Vague posts about new beginnings and evolution of my brand. But her engagement numbers plummeted. The aspirational lifestyle content that had built her following was gone, replaced by the reality of a woman who actually owned very little of what she'd claimed was hers. Through mutual friends, I heard that the sisters were fighting constantly. Casey blamed Amber for mismanaging the asset. That would be me. Amber blamed Casey for pushing her into increasingly risky misrepresentations online. About 2 weeks after Amber moved out, Casey went full crisis PR mode on her professional account. She dropped this long-winded statement like she was some kind of ethical guru blindsided by scandal. As someone committed to authentic marketing? Yeah, I actually laughed out loud at that part. She said she had no idea Amber was faking her lifestyle. Claimed the house, the Jeep, the pottery studio, none of it was Amber's, duh, and that she just couldn't support deception. Said it didn't align with the values of authentic living media. Real noble stuff. She even added screenshots of Amber's fakest posts next to property records, showing my name. Like she was doing the world a favor outing her own sister. The audacity was almost impressive. Casey, who basically designed the playbook Amber used to suck the life out of me, was now acting like she'd just discovered fire. She coached every move, every lie. And now that the influencer fantasy was burning down, she threw Amber under the bus and acted like she didn't hand her the matches. Honestly, I should have sent her a thank you card for the entertainment. Amber's response was nuclear. She posted their entire message history, including all the advice Casey had given her about how to use me and my possessions for content. Screenshots of Casey telling her to hide our relationship, to pretend my property was hers, to farm my pottery for her brand deals. She exposed how Casey had been the driving force behind every deception, coaching her on exactly how to exploit me for maximum engagement. My sister isn't just complicit. She's the architect of everything I did, Amber wrote. She identified Mark as a target. She created the strategy. She pushed me to lie. And now she's throwing me under the bus to save her agency. The sisters' public meltdown became minor influencer drama. Casey's agency lost clients. Amber's brand partnerships evaporated. Their reputations in the industry were shattered. And I watched it all unfold without engaging, without commenting, without giving either of them the satisfaction of my attention, just as I had done in the final weeks of our relationship. 3 months have passed since everything went down. Through mutual friends, I heard that Amber had moved to live with her parents. Casey's agency rebranded, dropping the word authentic from its materials, but was struggling to rebuild after the scandal. As for me, life leveled up instantly. I went full goblin mode in the studio, cranked out some of the best pottery I've made in years. My post office supervisor caught the vibe shift and tossed my name in for a management training program. Nailed it. Picked up a dog, a scruffy little mutt named Lo, who thinks the garage is her personal spa. Rehung my grandpa's fishing photos where they belong. Took my space back like it owed me rent. Then sure enough, Amber sends a letter. Pages of apology, blaming Casey for convincing her to monetize our relationship, because nothing says love like brand deals, and saying she actually did care. She even tucked in a $10,000 check for expenses and emotional damages. I shredded it and sent it back with a sticky note. My silence isn't for sale, but nice try. She basically asked if we could just go back to how things were. I told her we never existed outside her Instagram filter, and filters fade fast. Honestly, you don't realize how loud the noise is until you finally hit mute. Amber and Casey wanted followers, freebies, and a fake life that looked good on Instagram. Cool, they can have it. Me? I just wanted to make pots, vibe with my dog, and not be emotionally gaslit by a discount influencer duo. Took the long way around, but I landed exactly where I was supposed to be. She once said my pottery wasn't a personality. She was right. It was a boundary. And now it was her line she couldn't cross. And hey, if karma ever needs someone to throw the next punch, my wheel's open.